Hare Krishna everyone, Dandavat Pranams. Welcome to the first in a series of short talks on Inclusive Vaishnavism. A big thank you to everyone who has been in touch since Sunday to say you're super excited about these talks on Inclusive Vaishnavism. There is a need for it, and you're looking forward to hearing what we'll be saying over the next couple of weeks. I realised that I kind of put my foot in it on Sunday, and I said that the first in our series of talks would be on postmodernism. After I produced that film, I realised that I kind of have to honour that now and do this short talk on postmodernism. Postmodernism is a term that I've been kind of fascinated about for some time, and I've been quite keen on postmodernism for a number of years. But I realise that most of you won't have a clue what postmodernism is. So I will try and explain it in simple terms and then try and see if we can take postmodernism, the concept or the idea of postmodernism, and can we apply it to Krishna consciousness? Can we apply it to Vaishnavism? So firstly, just to explain what postmodernism is. Postmodernism is a philosophical view or a philosophical movement that came about at the end of the 20th century. And it was this idea basically that there are multiple truths. Now, I'm aware that sounds a bit wishy-washy, but there are multiple truths. So, for example, there's no such thing as an abstract truth or an objective truth or a universal truth. Ultimately, everyone has their own truth. What is truth for you might not be true for me, and what's true for me might not be true for you. That is postmodernism. This idea that everyone has their own true, and what's true for different people might not be true for others. So you're probably thinking, my goodness, how are we going to apply a philosophy or an ideological approach like postmodernism to Krishna consciousness? Well, I'm going to give it a go. But first, I want to kind of break down our whole Krishna conscious experience, or the whole Krishna conscious package, into two camps or to two parts. A word I would rather not use, but I'm going to use it for this context, is religion. The whole Krishna conscious religion, all aspects of that religion, that belief system, that way of practice, that way of doing spirituality. I'm breaking it down into two different camps. The first over here is the metaphysical, philosophical, theological camp. Ultimately, that's around the belief system of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. So, for example, we would have, what would we put into that group? We would put divinity, the idea that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We'd put in that avatara, the idea that Lord Chaitanya is the 15th century avatar or incarnation. We don't use that word in Krishna consciousness. The 15th century avatar of Radha and Krishna. What else would we put into that kind of metaphysical, theological, philosophical group? I put in mantra. This idea that the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra is the Yuga Dharma for this age. Also Vedas, sanctified holy scriptures and textbooks, the authoritative books, the authoritative scriptures of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, such as the Bhagavad Gita, the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Brahma Samhita, and also this idea of having a guru. This idea of having a guru-disciple relationship, this idea of having elders or people of seniority advising and guiding on a spiritual level. So just to recap, on the one camp, we've got the metaphysical, theological, philosophical. In this camp, I'd put divinity, avatara, mantra, Vedas, and guru. Now, you cannot have a postmodern approach to that camp. Those things are non-negotiable. Those things are objective truths. Those are things that in the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, in the Bhakti Yoga tradition, in the Krishna consciousness tradition, those things are universally accepted. So just to recap, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Chaitanya is the 15th century avatar of Radha Krishna. Mantra is the Yuga Dharma for this age. That cannot be changed. That should not be changed. We have faith, according to Guru and Sastra, that is the best mantra for this age. Vedas authoritative textbooks, and guru discipleship, or the relationship between guru and disciple. So what's in the other camp? What's in the other group that makes up our Krishna conscious package, or our Krishna conscious experience? Well, it's social, cultural, and material. So these are things like who your guru is, which mat or sangha you're part of, how many rounds you chant a day, what type of clothes you wear, and how we should share Krishna consciousness with others. So, in group 1, metaphysical, theological, philosophical, you cannot have a postmodern approach to Krishna consciousness. But in group 2, and with group 2, you can. The social, the cultural, the physical. You can apply a postmodern philosophical approach to that aspect of our Krishna conscious lifestyles. I was at a program recently where I was talking to someone about this idea of postmodernism and Krishna consciousness. And as most of you, they were quite baffled by this idea. And I gave the example of someone else who's in the room. I won't say this person's name, but someone else in the room has a guru. She is initiated by that guru. And for her, that guru is the one for her. He's the one that's going to hopefully take her back to Godhead. He's advising her. He's guiding her. He offers spiritual advice. That's her guru. The truth is, that's her guru, and she feels happy when she hears from him. She feels that she wants to serve him and honor him. But my truth, in terms of my guru, is something different. I have a different guru. I'm relying on someone else to take me back to Godhead. I was initiated by someone else. I think my guru is wonderful. I like his radical, maverick, individualistic approach to sharing Krishna consciousness in the Western world. That's true for me, but it may not be true for her. We have different gurus. So in this idea, postmodernism is applicable. Our truths are subjective. They're different for different people. And then there's this idea of which mat you're part of. And as you know, I've been ranting on about this for years. I even wrote a book about it in terms of, for me personally, it doesn't matter which mat you're in. It doesn't matter which Hare Krishna group you belong to. Yes, I might have personal private views on which mat's a bit better than others, or which mat does things in a different way, but that doesn't matter, because those ideas, those thoughts are subjective. They're different for different people. Which mat you're in doesn't matter. Ultimately, you're on a path to take you home back to Godhead. How many rounds you chant. Now, for people in ISKCON, that will sound controversial because, yes, absolutely, for those of us with our spiritual heritage within ISKCON through following Srila Prabhupada, you chant a minimum, those of us who are initiated, we chant a minimum of 16 rounds a day. But for other practitioners of Krishna consciousness in other mats, they may have been given a different instruction, a different piece of advice from their guru. And that is true for them. That is the right thing for them in their lives. Like for me, in my life, I chant a minimum of 16 rounds a day. They're not always very attentive, and they're not always first thing in the morning, but I do it. And right now in my life, that is what I'm focused on doing. Also, those of us with our kind of background in ISKCON will know this very long-standing debate about clothes, the types of clothes that we wear. A postmodern approach to that would be that actually it doesn't matter what clothes you wear. Those of us who prefer to wear a shirt and a fancy waistcoat in our sharing and our distribution of Krishna consciousness, yeah, that's different from those who wear kurtas and dhotis and ladies who wear saris. You know, it doesn't really matter what type of clothes you wear. Ultimately, that you're living a sattvic life in service to Guru and Gauranga. And then there's this idea in this social, cultural, physical camp of how we share Krishna consciousness. Well, we're all different. We all do things in different ways. A Christian would say that we're all made individually in the image of God. You know, we're all made unique, and the Lord knew us before we were born. So can we apply postmodernism to Krishna consciousness? Yes and no. You cannot apply it, you should not apply it to the metaphysical, theological and philosophical truths, those objective truths. But you can apply it to the social, cultural, physical truths, those things that we would say are subjective. So what can we learn from postmodernism in our series of talks on inclusive Vaishnavism? Well, number one, we need to be better at including people. And we particularly need to be better at including people where we view them or perceive them as different from us in that group 2 category, on the social, cultural or physical differences. We need to include those people. If someone's from a different mat, we need to include them. If somebody chants less or more rounds than us every day, we need to include them. If somebody prefers to wear a shirt and tie when they distribute Prabhupada's books, we need to include them. If someone has a different way of sharing Krishna consciousness with others, we need to include them. Inclusive Vaishnavism is what it says on the tin, on the can. It's about including people. Srila Prabhupada wanted Krishna consciousness, wanted the Hare Krishna movement to be a house for the whole world. Well, guess what? The whole world is different. Every single one of us is unique. Every single one of us is an independent individual. We're all different. What you like, I may not like. What I like, you may not like. We need to be better at including people. And I hope that this very short and kind of all over the place talk on postmodernism, a philosophical concept that some people misunderstand, is useful in our practice of including people in our Gaudiya Vaishnav daily practices. So, this was talk number one, short talk number one on inclusive Vaishnavism. Trying to see how we can include more people, devotees and non-devotees, in our Krishna conscious lifestyles. Hare Krishna.